Yeah, so I'm very sympathetic towards the Hong Kong demonstrators. I mean, I hope that they will behave with restraint, because the precedents are very, very bad about what mainland China's government might do when it loses patience. We've seen it in Tiananmen Square in 1989, and that was dreadful. So I do hope the demonstrators in Hong Kong will be sensible a bit, but I'm very, very sympathetic to their cause. I think they're courageous. I mean, after all, if we demonstrate in the streets of London or in Sydney, we don't face the kind of threat that they do in Hong Kong. Therefore, you have to take your hats off to them. One thing that's very worrying about what we've seen in the Brisbane case is that when very large numbers of Chinese students go abroad to study, in amongst them will be people who are there to watch them. These are people who are, in effect, this is not a conspiracy theory, it's pretty widely known, that there are people there who are planted among them to keep an eye on them and watch them. And these will be people who will be countering them in these demonstrations. And that's a kind of signal, it's a symptom of the fact that there is limited patience on the part of the Chinese authorities.
Yeah, Li Shi, just going back to you briefly, does it worry you that Chinese agents may be among the students, watching what the other students are doing, particularly when they're demonstrating?
Yes, I do. And also, Anthony's right. I mean, it's not new to anybody, really. I mean, even Americans watch their citizens abroad to see whether or not they're actually doing acts which are against the national interest. So it's not different. And I agree also with the sentiment that, hey, if you're going to demonstrate, you have a right to peaceful protest. But once it gets violent, that's really bad, because if you can't get the argument across in a civilized manner, you've lost the plot immediately. And when students resort to violence, especially when it goes to the point of destruction, throwing bricks at the police, at the authorities that you're supposed to respect and all that, that shows me that there is some organization that's involved in that. And we know there are hardcore students that are involved in all of those things. And these hardcore students are not really spontaneous. They're organized. You've seen the tactics they've deployed in the demonstrations. And it seems to me odd that people still think these students are just working by themselves. I would say, look, there's another player behind all of this.
Well, are you referring to intelligence agencies?
Yes, I believe
because obviously the Chinese would accuse the CIA of being involved in some of these events.
Oh, I think that is a natural response, because think about this. When our government databases get hacked, what do? Our knee-jerk reaction is pointing fingers at Russia and at China. When something happens to them, it's the same thing. They're pointing back to us, to the US, to the UK. And the thing is that, as I said, when you look at the sequence of events and the pattern of things happening, from the Chinese point of view, they would say, look, all these things are happening right now at a time of geopolitical tension. Who stands to gain the most? What's the motivation? If you did a crime investigation, that's one of the things you look for. What's the motivation? Who gets the maximum advantage out of it? And they would actually look at the US.
Okay, AC Grayling, we just want to jump in there.
Just one very, very quick point, and that is that we've heard from people in Hong Kong who've been witnessing the demonstrations there, that some of the Hong Kong police have been speaking to one another in Mandarin. Now, you can work out the consequences of that, or the implications of that anyway. The extra police drafted in are not Hong Kong police, they're Mandarin police. And this is a really, really bad sign. So, it's a dangerous, it's a volatile situation, and one can only hope the best.